Hey guys, this is Solomon. Welcome to Educator Fresh. I'm going to be handling heterotrophic nutrition in the next series of videos. Please feel free to like and subscribe for the algorithm. Okay, let's start. What is heterotrophic nutrition? Heterotrophic nutrition is a mode of nutrition in which organisms feed on already manufactured food. Such organisms are called heterotrophs. They include all animals, fungi, most bacteria, and some organisms in the kingdom Protista. There are four main types or forms of heterotrophic nutrition, and these include, firstly, saprotrophic nutrition. This is a mode of nutrition which involves feeding on soluble organic compounds obtained from dead decaying matter. Organisms which feed on dead decaying matter are called saprotrophs. These include fungi like ringworm, athlete's foot, mushrooms, and some bacteria. Basically, saprotrophs secrete enzymes on their food and it is digested extracellularly. The soluble products of this extracellular digestion are then absorbed and assimilated by saprotrophs. I want to believe this is one of the earliest forms of extracellular digestion. So some exam type of questions that you can think about here are: describe how the bread mold feed, how are fungi adapted for their role in the environment, and what is the significance of saprophytes in the environment. So these are good questions to ponder while thinking about saprotrophic nutrition. The next form of nutrition is parasitic nutrition. This is a feeding relationship between two organisms of different species in which one organism, the parasite, benefits and feeds on the other, which is then called the host, and the host is harmed in the process. There are two types of hosts. We have the primary host, or what we call the final hosts. We have the primary host, which is the final host, or what we call the definitive host. This is a host in which a parasite attains sexual maturity. And then the secondary host, or what we call the intermediate host, is the host in which the parasite passes one or more of its asexual stages. So in the primary host, it gets sexual maturity, and then in the secondary host, it passes one or more of its asexual stages, because we know that some parasites actually have more than one asexual stages. This is usually designated the first and the second, and usually if there is more than one, we will have first, second, and third, and so on and so forth. And then examples of parasites. Parasites come in all types, come in all shapes and sizes. Some are animals, some are flowering plants, some are protists, some are fungi, and some are bacteria. And just like they come in all sizes, they feed on all types of things. Some feed on plants, some feed on animals, and so on and so forth. There are two types of parasites basically. We have obligate parasites and we have facultative or partial parasites. Obligate parasites are organisms which can only live, survive, and reproduce as parasites throughout their lives because they cannot obtain nutrients by any other means. For example, the phytophthora, which causes potato blight, cannot live independent of the host. The partial or the facultative parasites are organisms that can live parasitically at some times and can live freely at other times. They do survive on organic matter of their living and sometimes even their dead host body for food. For example, bacteria do this. We can also define facultative parasites as organisms which partly survive as a parasite and partly as a saprotroph, mainly when the host dies. Parasites can also be categorized as ectoparasites and endoparasites. Ectoparasites are parasites which live on the body surface of their host, like ticks, fleas, bedbugs, among other things. And then endoparasites are parasites which exist inside the body of their host, like the gut parasites, schistosomes, plasmodia, and other parasites. In the picture we have roundworms, tapeworms, and liver flukes. All these are types of parasites, and they can be categorized differently according to what we have just explained. Now, what are the problems that parasites face? The first one is they sometimes fail to penetrate the host. Okay, sometimes they may fail to obtain the nutritive molecules from the host that they need. Sometimes they may fail to attach themselves safely on the host, such that the host can easily dislodge them. They face the danger of failing to find the right host, which should disperse them to their final host in the succeeding generations. They can be destroyed by enzymes and immune responses of the host. These are all problems of parasites as they go about their daily life. They face the danger of being eliminated completely or even becoming extinct. They face a danger of failing to survive in areas where we have low oxygen, where we have excess heat, and where we have darkness. These are the problems of parasites. However, parasites have developed adaptations, and we have three types of adaptations. We have physiological adaptations, we have structural adaptation, and then we have reproductive adaptations to solve the problems that they face. What some do physiologically is to produce enzymes by parasitic plants and animals which digest the tissues of the host external to the parasites, so to allow the parasite to penetrate into the host. This is what some fungi do and some plasmodium do. They produce anticoagulants by blood feeding parasites. Okay, blood feeding parasites produce anticoagulants such as mosquitoes and ticks, so to avoid blood clotting in the mouth while they are feeding. They are highly chemosensitive in order to reach the optimum location in the host body, for example, the plasmodium parasite. Most of them respire anaerobically so as to stay in areas of low oxygen tension. For example, most endoparasites respire anaerobically because they are staying in a place where they actually don't have oxygen. Some of them have developed high heat tolerance, and they can even stay in the dark and even survive extreme pH changes in places where they live. For example, endoparasites. They have very rapid means of escape, which increases their chances of survival, like fleas and mosquitoes can flee very fast the moment you sense them. They produce a lot of mucus, like intestinal worms, to protect themselves against damage by digestive worms of the host. Some endoparasites produce chemicals to protect themselves against the immune response system of the host. Structurally, they develop penetrative devices to enter the host, like the penetrative history in fungi, the proboscis in ectoparasites, and even cutting teeth in hookworms. These are all to allow them penetrate the host. Some of them develop suckers like leeches and tapeworms, which suck digested food from their host directly. Some have developed a thick resistant outer covering so as to resist the action of digestive juices and enzymes like the Ascaris and the Tania solanum. Some of them develop body colors which allow them to camouflage, increasing their chances for survival, like the brown ticks and found in the color in cattle. Some of them develop highly specialized mouthparts, like some ectoparasites use these sharp mouthparts to penetrate the host and even suck the nutrients that they need, like the stylets in fluid feeders in like mosquitoes, aphids, and sassaflies. Some develop highly specialized historial structures like in plants, like the cuscuta, what we call the duda plants. These are equipped with penetrative enzymes like cellulase that enable the parasite to penetrate and obtain nutrients from the host. Some of them actually abandon feeding organs, locomotory organs, sense organs, and alimentary canal. They abandon all these things, which reduces their size, allowing them to fit in the intestine of the bodies of the host, and which also allows them to reduce energy expenditure, because you need to accept that we spend a lot of energy on this particular purpose of moving around body parts that are not always useful, so that you lose them. Like the fasciola hepatica, the liver fluke, the tapeworm, and the hookworm have lost most of these other parts so that they can live an easy life inside the body of their host. Some of them fail to develop photosynthetic pigments like chlorophyll in parasitic plants such as the cuscuta. Their solutions for reproduction, most of them are hermaphrodites, which gives them the ability to carry out self-fertilization to increase the rate of reproduction. For example, the fasciola, the tania, and the fungi. Most of them have an asexual phase in their life cycle to have a high rate of reproduction and to avoid extinction. So while asexual reproduction does not allow for variety to happen, it allows for rapid reproduction to happen. So it allows them to multiply, giving them a higher chances of reproducing the next time they need to reproduce sexually. Most of them carry out permanent union of sexes to allow permanent coitus, which is mating, increasing the rate of reproduction. This is common in the fasciola and the blood flux of the schistosomes. They release sexually mature forms of the parasites as free living organisms, for example, in some parasitic animals like the horse hairworms. Some of them produce large numbers of infective agents like eggs, cysts, and spores, which increases their chances of survival to avoid extinction. For example, a single tapeworm may produce over 10 million fertile eggs per year. Can you imagine the consequence of that? 10 million fertile eggs per year. Some of them develop reproductive bodies that are highly resistant when out of the host so as to survive adverse conditions. For example, development of cysts and protozoans such as amoeba, and then the bloodworms also produce cysts, and fungi produce spores. Development in the above structures is suspended until when they reach the proper host. Some of them use an intermediate host for their transfer of the primary host. For example, the malaria parasite or the plasmodium is carried by the female Anopheles mosquito to man. That intermediate hosts give them higher chances of survival. Some parasites localize the strategic points where opposite sex can easily get to them for easy transmission from one organism to another. For example, the Neisseria gonorrhea, which causes gonorrhea, Treponema pallidum, which causes syphilis, HIV, which causes AIDS, are localized in the sex organs. Think about if the virus or the bacteria for gonorrhea was found in the back. No one would get it because no one is interested in the back, but it is found in an area where it can easily be transmitted to the next host with ease. Some parasites use hereditary transmission, which carries them to other hosts to increase their chances of spreading. Hereditary transmission is whereby some of the parasites infect the ovary of the primary host, such that the eggs laid or the young ones born are also infected with the parasites. So that is it for today. As we come next time, I hope that you have gone through those questions. Describe the adaptation of the following parasites to their parasitic mode of life. The tapeworm, the ascaris, the doda plant. Describe the life cycle of the parasites named above. Compare saprophytes with parasites. Have a good day. Please like and subscribe and invite your friends to watch.